and welcome to Power in Youth Giving at We Give Summit. We're so excited to have you with us today. And before we really dive in, what I'd like to ask everybody to do, if you haven't done so already, please feel free to rename yourself as you'd like to appear and add your pronouns if you feel comfortable to do so. And then if you could type into the chat box, what do you think about when you hear the phrase youth empowerment? So just take a moment, go ahead, rename yourself, get settled, and then think about this question. What do you think about when you hear the phrase youth empowerment? And you can type a single word or maybe a couple of words, but we'd love to hear from you. So give you a moment to do so. So I'm seeing a couple of things come in. I see youth voices heard. Oh, that's so good. I love amplifying the voices of today, the future. Gosh, I love that answer. Adults getting out of the way. Very blunt, but I love it. Perfect. Leadership opportunities, definitely. Youth empowerment equals community cohesion. Love that. Beautiful. So I'll give you just a couple more moments if you want to continue to type into the chat. So from there, as you see, there's so many big ideas around youth empowerment and the power that youth can wield around philanthropy. And so just to tell you a little bit of background about who we are today, who's going to be here with you in this session. We are from Honeycomb, and Honeycomb is the leading resource for Jewish youth philanthropy. We drive innovation in philanthropy education by creating tools, curricula, and trainings for professionals and organizations to deliver high-quality experiences that empower youth to fund real change. Honeycomb is building the future of Jewish youth philanthropy. Honeycomb organizes and supports a global network of Jewish youth philanthropy programs, inspiring a rising generation of Jewish philanthropists and changemakers. And so that's a little bit about our organization. So who am I and who's my friend over there on the other side of the screen? I am Alana Hollander. I am the Community and Special Projects Manager here at Honeycomb. And Danielle Siegel is the Senior Program Manager at Honeycomb. And so we will be chatting with you today all about this. So what are we going to be doing? What are we covering? So today we're going to be talking about youth philanthropy and how it leads to youth empowerment. We're going to be going over what exactly is youth philanthropy? What does it look like? We're going to be talking about the big picture. How does this play into the larger picture of the youth philanthropy landscape and beyond? We're going to be talking about how to implement it, how to implement youth philanthropy. We're going to be talking about our current curriculum and walk through with you the structure of what that looks like. And then we're actually going to be having a little interactive fun and demoing some of these pieces out for you to see in real time. We're going to leave some opportunity for questions, Q&A at the end. And we're also just going to reflect on what we've gone over today. And just a reminder, if you have any questions as we're going through, please feel free to put those questions in the chat, and we will do our best to keep track and answer any questions that you might have as they come up. So with that, I'm going to actually hand over to my colleague Danielle to take us through why youth philanthropy and youth empowerment.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Alana. So we're going to start off with the why. Why youth philanthropy and youth empowerment? It is a real moment of identity building. It is an opportunity for young people to really look at themselves and say, what is important to me? What are the changes that I want to see in the world? And we use a lot of different lenses to do that within our model. We do an exploration of values. We explore ideas and content around giving and philanthropy. And we look at causes that we want to help. someone actually mentioned in the chat about leadership skills. So that was a beautiful segue. This is a really wonderful opportunity to instill leadership skills in the group of youth that you are working with. There are lots of different ways that you can incorporate that, whether you have a multi-year program or maybe some organizations actually use this whole complete program as a leadership building program. It really gives them the opportunity to be a leader, especially in those multi-year settings. Also, there are lots of really great transferable skills. So you're learning these lifelong skills that you can use in other areas as well. It gives you real-world understanding of nonprofits. We like to say that this is not a simulation exercise. We're not dealing with monopoly money. This is about real grant making, which means that you're working with real nonprofits and granting to real nonprofits. So you really get that real-world understanding of the larger landscape. It also inspires this lifelong connection and dedication to giving. When starting at a younger age, it kind of is built in you and you take it with you as you grow up. And really, this is a moment to democratize philanthropy. Anyone can be a philanthropist. This is not just for people with the financial means to do it. It can be anyone. Also, it can be any age. This isn't just about adults. Young people can be philanthropists too. So we've done the why. So what is this? What is this model of youth philanthropy? So guided by values, young people are given the opportunity to engage in hands-on giving or charity through strategic grant making. And really, that's the key thing, that this is a real moment to come together as a group, like adult giving circles, to make that strategic grant making decision. We know there are moments where maybe we'll put a little bit of money in a charity box or do something small. This is about the strategic moment, to think about what is this change that I want to see in the world. You make real decisions about real funds. As I said, this is not monopoly money. This is all genuine and real. And it is the teens making the decisions. Even if there is an adult facilitator in the room, it is the young people making the decisions. And that's really key. We generally use the collective grant making model. So everyone in the group, like a giving circle, makes that collective decision. And in our model, we make decisions by consensus. Consensus is a very important pillar for us. It means that every voice is important and every voice is heard. And coming to consensus, it takes a little bit more time than voting. But it means that it's not about winners or losers. It's about everyone being happy for the decision to go forward, even if it's not your first choice. So it's a really great learning moment. Again, transferable skills when you're looking at civil discourse or debate or communication. So there are lots of really wonderful uses for consensus, and it's a key element of our program. Programs can be all different sizes. You might meet twice a year to make your decision, or it could be a larger program and you're meeting every single week for a full year. They're all still philanthropy programs. They're just all slightly different flavors. And it follows that genuine grant making cycle. And if you are already part of a giving circle, you already kind of know and love that pattern. It's also including that kind of educational content to build philanthropic knowledge and understanding into that process. So there is learning all the way along. So whether it's you sending out requests for proposals or getting real proposals back or learning about budgets and nonprofits and going on site visits, everything is that learning moment with education kind of surrounding all of it. So we've done the why and the what. So just to take a look at the bigger picture, what does this mean for youth empowerment? So when we say youth empowerment, we really are talking about affecting real change in the world, because everything about this model is real. It's teens giving away real money. They are really making that change in the world and giving them the opportunity to manage that. They also get an understanding the role that philanthropy plays in the larger service sphere. So we know that there are other ways to help change the world. You can protest, you can volunteer, there's advocacy. These are all really important. And philanthropy holds all those pieces together. There's a dovetailing moment, almost like a Venn diagram. If you are volunteering your time at a soup kitchen, someone needed to pay for the electricity in that soup kitchen. So there are so many of these moments where those things intersect. So we have pillars in our curriculum. We use 22 justice issues. That's kind of like what we call causes. That can be examined individually or kind of in combination, depending on how you want to run your program. So taking the care and time to actually examine those issues and seeing what the young people care about. So in this past year and a half where we've all been online, we have found that this is an amazing moment to mobilize young people in an online space in a really meaningful way. So even if they are at home in their living room, they still have that connection through the computer. And we know that a lot of our programs made that pivot, made that switch to online programming at the end of last academic year. And I've taken it into this year too. And they're running their programs online. We even have some new programs that have started online because of this wonderful online platform, which is really creating a bridge rather than a barrier. And no program exists in a vacuum. Youth philanthropy really is part of a global movement. So even if you are the only youth philanthropy program in your area, you are part of this bigger picture. So we've done the why, the what, the bigger picture, and now it's the how. How do you even start thinking about bringing youth philanthropy into your community? So there are a few different ways that you can do that. You can have a separate pool of funds for young people to allocate. So your giving circle, your foundation might decide, okay, well, we give away X amount of money every year. We're going to portion off this little piece that the youth are going to decide and give away. You can have a youth board, an official youth board as part of your foundation. Maybe you have a small number of young people who might form like a subcommittee or an extra area in your giving circle or your foundation. If you're on an adult board of some kind or an adult giving circle, you actually might consider bringing on a young person onto your board. It's a wonderful moment of leadership for that young person. And we know we can always learn from people of different generations. So having that other voice in your group, it can be hugely valuable. You might have some bylaws which say that young person can't have a vote on your board. But as long as you're transparent from that on the outset and you're still going to take on what they're saying, even if they're not a voting member, that can be a way around that too. So you might be involved in a family foundation. So involving young people in your giving throughout the generations in your own family can be another great opportunity. So you might decide to run a short form giving circle for young people. What we're going to be demoing for you a little bit later is from our short form program, which is our Changemakers 90, which is a youth giving experience in 90 minutes. So that's a great way to get a taste of a philanthropy program like this. Or you can start a full youth philanthropy program within your giving circle or foundation. We know lots of organizations that do this. They have multi-year programs, lots of time and resources dedicated to a full youth board within their foundation. So now I am going to hand back over to Alana as she starts to walk us through the curriculum we've been talking about.
Thanks, Danielle. And just as Danielle mentioned, we're going to be walking through this short form giving circle experience, Changemakers 90. And if that's something that you're looking to do, whether you're looking to do a short form program, or we also have in that last section, you saw you can start a longer form program. And these are all resources that Honeycomb has. So if that's something you're interested in, I will just make note that if you're looking for a longer form program, while we're not walking through that today, that also is a resource that we do have. But for today, we're going to be walking you through our shorter form program, Changemakers 90. And so what is in this curriculum? We're going to just pull this up on the screen separately for you so you can get a little taste of what it looks like. So just give us a moment and Danielle will share with us what that looks like. Wonderful. So this is Changemakers 90, Giving Circle in 90 minutes. And within it, we have multiple things for you to use, and it really is designed to be a grab and go resource. This is on our website currently. You can go grab it. I think this is part of your package from coming to today's session. So in it, we have script suggestions. So essentially the language of that you would want to use to facilitate. We've actually scripted this out. So if you're planning to run this and you don't really want to think about it, that language is right there for you to use that you can just read off of the page. There's also full step-by-step instructions throughout the entire program. So it really goes through each thing that you'll need to do, both on the front end of presenting, but also the back end for your logistics. Is this a moment where you're going to share a screen? Is this a moment that you're going to send people into the breakout room? So each instruction is carefully laid out so you have what you need to run it. There's also included, there's ready-made templates within this. So if you go to the end, you'll see that there's certain appendices, there's an evaluation template, there's an organization template, and all of those can be used within the program. We also include a slide deck. So in those moments where you need to share a little bit more information about core values or any other information that you might need to share with the teens who are participating, you have that opportunity to share with them and they can read off the page. There's also facilitator checklists. So there's certain things that you might need to do before, after, and during the program. As the facilitator, we give you some guidance about making sure that you have all of your T's crossed and your I's dotted. And then finally, we also have frequently asked questions, anything that we felt was maybe extraneous, but that you might have some questions about how to approach it. So this is really, again, designed to be a grab and go resource. Oh, and then finally, there's also, if you go through it, you'll note that there's treasure chests throughout the entire document in different places. And what those are actually an opportunity to use one of our enhancement guides. And our enhancement guides are through the lens of a specific justice issue. So right now, we have one enhancement guide out that came out earlier this year, and that is through the lens of civil rights and anti-racism. And essentially, if you were using that guide, you would plug and play, you would replace this moment with an activity from the guide and place it into your Changemakers 90 session in order to make it through the lens of that justice issue. And so periodically throughout the years, our aim is to keep on coming out with new enhancement guides until we have successfully put out our 22. So throughout the year, keep an eye out. We're hoping to put out more this year and subsequently in following years. So that was just a little taste of what that looks like. And we hope that you will go ahead and look through yourselves and really get an idea of it and maybe even run it yourselves. But we'd love to take you in this moment and actually walk you through and do a demonstration for one of the activities or a couple of the activities within that resource. So what we're going to do now is an activity called Give 10. And so what you will need for this activity is if you have a piece of paper and a pen handy, or if you don't have that handy, then maybe open up a Word browser or a Google Doc browser, just so you have a place where you can type. But what I'm going to ask everybody to do in just a moment is we're going to look around the room. But before even that, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on this activity. So in Jewish tradition, farmers are actually expected to set aside 1/10 of their produce to give away. And so in modern day, that has actually now become a Jewish custom to set aside 10% of one's earnings to charity. So based on that tradition, this is how this activity was born out of. And so what we're going to do now is, I hope you've had a moment as I describe that to grab your piece of paper or to open your document. And what I'd like you to do is to look around your room and just think of 10 things in your room. Just 10 different items that are important to you. So I'm going to give you all a moment to think of your 10 things, and then we will regroup in just a second. And if you're in a room that doesn't happen to have a lot of things, then you can branch out and think of things maybe in a subsequent room. Maybe if you're in your living room or in your computer room, think of something in your bedroom. It's okay. We can, but just 10 things in your space that are important to you. And we're going to take, I would say, like another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll come back and do the next part of the process. Okay, so hopefully you have your 10 things or close to 10 things. But what I'd like to do now is ask each of you to take a moment again and look at your list of 10 and select one item that you would be willing to give away. And before you give that item away, I want you to think of the item on that list that would be helpful for another person to receive. And so as you do this, you can think of an example that is very literal. Like, for instance, if I give away a book from my bookshelf and to somebody who's looking to be tutored or looking to learn something, that's a very literal example. But maybe I have a plant in my living room and I'm going to give that away in order to support environmental causes and environmental needs. So you can take it very literally, or you can be a bit more metaphorical if you choose. But just think of one thing that you would be willing to part with on that list of those things that are important to you. And I'm going to give everybody another 30 seconds to make this decision. Okay, so I'm going to ask to see if there's any brave souls who are willing to share their one item and why they chose that item. Do I have anybody that would be willing to, if you want to take yourselves off of mute, you can raise a hand, or you can use the little emoji raise hand and share if you'd like to share. I see Maggie has a hand up. Yes, Maggie, can you share with us your item and why you chose it?
Hi, yeah, thank you. Actually, the item is time because I'm lucky enough to. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Sorry. I'm lucky enough to like live on my own and have time to do this type of things that I actually choose to do. So that is the what I'm doing. What I'm giving away is my time to other people.
I love that answer, and that's so creative. So I wouldn't have thought to give away, but yeah. Sorry, did you want to say something else, Maggie?
No, thank you.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, I love that. It's a brilliant answer. Does anybody else have an item that they were willing to give away and want to share with the group and why they chose that item? Yeah, Betty.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay. I'm in a room where I have a phone. It's not the only phone that I have. And so I've decided that I would be willing to give this phone to someone else to be able for them to communicate. A lot of people don't have phones. And I know that this would be very valuable for other people.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I love that point you make. You have other phones, so you can part with that one. You can afford to give away that one. And communication is so key. So thank you. Beautiful. Do I have one more brave soul who can share with us? Yes, Colleen.
Okay, mine is a book, but not, it's this fabulous book called All We Can Save. And it was so inspiring to me that I would like to give it to someone else, not to just learn from it, but to be tremendously inspired around climate solutions from it.
Oh, amazing. I love that. And what impacts us, we can share with others. So I love that messaging as well, of things that were meaningful to us that we hope will impact others and how they think. So lovely. Thank you so much. And as you can see, and something that we would share if you were doing this with the participants, with youth participants, is that in this exercise, it's important to note that you were able to give away 10% of your items, just one thing, but are still left with 9 things. So even when we're giving something away, whether it be tangible items or in giving money, it's wise to consider what does remain, like our phones. We still have other phones in the rest of the house. So often we're still left with an abundance, and yet we've provided support and made an impact on the world. So that is just one part of how we would frame this in a actual program. And so this helps provide a framework for how we might want to give, and how we can make decisions about our giving. And this is a nice way to just start off and maybe do an icebreaker and intro people to some of these concepts. So for our next demo, to sort of take us through getting those cranks turning about how you might get youth thinking about these bigger picture concepts, I'm going to hand back to Danielle, who will take us through our next exercise.
Wonderful. Thanks, Alana. So the activity I'm going to demo with you now is the part of the process where you get a moment to examine your own values. What is important to you? And when we do a shorter form giving program, those values are actually really key, because they are used sort of in place of a mission statement. If you're doing a longer form program, you have the time to put together that mission statement, consider exactly which justice issue you're going to be addressing. In our short form program, really those values are so key in being like your guiding light through your decision-making process. They're also very present in the long form version as well, because they are interweaved through everything to do with your giving and grant making cycle. So we've identified in our curriculum 7 values, which we see are the 7 key values of grant making. They are 7 values that are very present in Jewish tradition, but they're also very universal, so they don't necessarily have to be used in a Jewish context. And so for this activity, I want to share with you these 7 values so that we can all become familiar with them before we do our exercise. So our 7 values are responsibility, service, loving kindness, human dignity, preservation, hope, and justice. So I'm just going to give everyone a minute to just have a look at those 7 values and become a little bit more familiar with them. Read that little 1-sentence description under each value so that you can kind of take on the meaning that we're using during this program. So I'm just going to give you a minute or so to read through those values. Just another 30 seconds or so for you to read through those. Okay, now what you're going to do is for this activity is you are going to help, those values are going to help shine a light or use as a lens to work out what kind of issues you are interested in. What is something that is a value that is linking to a cause or a justice issue that you are interested in at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you this link. This is to a manipulative board, and you can see down here, you can drag and drop these. Very cool. Here are 22 justice issues that are part of our curriculum. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at those 22 justice issues and pick 3 that are really speaking to you at the moment. Either it's on your mind at the moment or it's always been really important to you. Just 3 that are jumping out to you, and place them in corresponding values bubbles. So there might be a lot of overlap in your mind as far as the justice issues and the values, but I'm going to challenge you to put those three justice issues into 3 individual values bubbles. So I am going to stop my share so I can give you the link, which I'm going to pop into the chat box. And this manipulative board is sort of acts like a website. So if you're moving around the pieces on your own board, you're not affecting anyone else's boards. Just like when you're browsing a website, it doesn't matter what you click, it doesn't affect anyone else. So I popped the link in the chat so you can use your own manipulatives board. So identify those 3 justice issues and put them in the corresponding bubbles. There is no right or wrong answer for this exercise. This is purely subjective. This is about you. What are guiding values for you, and what are 3 justice issues that you are interested in? So I'll just give you a minute or 2 to do that. And if you feel comfortable to do so, you can add to the chat box those 3 values that you found lined up with your chosen justice issue. Wonderful, thank you. If anyone else would like to add their 3 chosen values. Fantastic, thank you. Great. Wow, I think we've already hit all 7. I think everyone has a really great range of values. Thank you. So during this exercise, it is a moment for personal reflection, but it is a very key point in the program, because after you establish your individual values, those are actually used to form the group values, which then guide the group decision making. So there are other exercises that lead you from your individual values to group values, and of course those are decided by consensus, and some other activities and tricks as well. So it's kind of part of that flow of the program. Also, because we love to model different online educational tools, we love using online manipulatives, and for our reflection piece, we're also going to show you another great platform that we like using as well. So we want to make sure that we have time to answer some of your questions. We know that we've just handed a lot of information over to you. We've walked through the curriculum. Really want to take the time just for a few minutes to answer any questions that the group has before we lead you all in a reflection piece, which is also an important part of our curriculum. We always want to make sure that we incorporate reflection into what we're doing. So if you have any questions for us, feel free to put them in the chat. You can also raise your hand, and we can call on you to unmute yourself so that we can answer your questions. Oh, wonderful question. We have a question about age range that you find your models are most useful with. Fantastic. The majority of our programs are with high school age kids. However, we know organizations that do this for grades 7 and 8 very successfully. We even have some schools, day schools, who use this as part of their 7th grade curriculum. We have also run programs for camps and other experiential models for younger kids as well. So I'd say the majority are high schoolers, but it can certainly be tailored for the younger grades as well. We're more than happy to help you with any resources if that's something you're interested in. Great question, thank you. Any other questions at all? Oh, great question. What is the most challenging thing for youth to discuss or engage with? That's a fantastic question. Oh, Alana, do you want to take this one?
Sure. I think that there's multiple answers to this question. I think that especially when we're putting the onus on them being part of this decision making, and for them to be introduced to consensus building, which is generally not something that's very new to them. And even in adult spaces, we're not using that type of framework. So challenging them to make decisions and take into account everything that their peers are also thinking about, I think that's definitely challenging for them to say, okay, I'm going to look beyond myself and think about where does our group want to go, and how do we make this a group focused thing? And I think that's something that's across the board that is challenging, but at the same time, the skill building that happens around that as they develop and as they're able to engage in active listening and really beyond just waiting for your turn to speak, but really like taking that step forward, step back type of mindset is, I think, really important for them to establish those skills later on. But it's definitely, I think, a challenge that they all grapple with of like, how do I not, I care about the environment, and how are we as a group going to tackle that if the environment isn't chosen as our key issue?
Great question, thank you. Any other questions that people would like addressed, you can pop them in the chat box. I will also, at the end, put our email addresses. Feel free to also email us. Youth who want to award grants in social justice, how do they find small grassroots community organizations? Great question. So a lot of our programs are actually locally based. So we do have some national programs that are online, so people come from everywhere, but a lot of our programs are locally based. So actually part of a longer form program is that the teens do a bit of research about what are the grassroots organizations in their area, what is happening in the field of social justice, if that is an area that they want to concentrate on. Another key part of the program is actually bringing in some experts and bringing in some speakers who might be working in this field within your local area, so that the teens are not just researching by themselves, but really that they learn from what is happening in their local community. Also, a lot of the host organizations will have links already to local community groups and nonprofits who can point them in the right direction. Great question, thank you. Great question. Do you only focus on giving to nonprofits? Yes, within our programs, generally, our programs give to official nonprofits rather than individuals. Really, it's up to each individual group how they want to structure their giving and what type of organization they're giving to. When you look at the Changemakers 90 template, because it is a short form program, we suggest that you do pick verified nonprofits to make as part of your docket, just because the teams are not going to have as much time to do their due diligence to look into individual people or different types of organizations that aren't nonprofit. So those shorter ones, we do have official nonprofits, but each individual organization might decide to go in a different direction. Would you say that was true, Alana?
Yeah, definitely. And I would just add that if you're deciding to run this type of program, like many organizations set certain parameters for their giving. So certainly within our own network, we're working with Jewish organizations. So there might be a Jewish giving parameter, or within their local community, a lot of our programs do have a parameter set by the host organization that's running the program, saying you need to give to your local community. So those are things that as you design something, you could certainly set and say, we are only, if you're running a giving circle and your impact is all about social justice, you could just focus and narrow it down to like, it has to be around social justice, or it has to be in our local community. So you can have those conversations. Or on the flip side, how much power and voice do you want to give to the teens to make those decisions? So that's something we're always grappling with of, is it in line with our current organization that's hosting it? And we really want to empower and amplify the teen voice. So as much say as we can give them, that's also a really wonderful thing.
So thank you so much for all your questions. As I said, at the end, we'll put our email addresses in as well. And on the community forum, you can also carry on the conversation. So in our last few minutes together, we would really like to lead you in a reflection activity. So I'm going to hand you over to Alana to take us away.
So we're going to be using a platform called Padlet. And Danielle in just a moment is going to be sharing the screen. And within this reflection activity, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be choosing an image that represents something you've heard or learned from in this session that you are still thinking about. So in order to do this, if you've never worked in Padlet before, you'll see on the bottom of the screen, there's a little pink plus sign. And if you click on that little pink plus sign, you can add your reflection either by typing in text, as you see that Danielle is doing for us right now. You can also add an image where if you click on the pink plus sign again, you can choose image as one of the options, and then it does a Google search for any image that you think is good. And then the last way that you can do this to add your reflection is you can actually choose a GIF if you want to get really fancy and have something fun and animated. If you click on the middle button that sort of looks like a magnifying glass, you can do a search for the image that suits your reflection. So we're going to put this link in the chat. And what I'd like you to do, again, I'll tell you the prompt one more time, is to think about an image or a GIF or just a statement that represents something you heard or learned from in the session that you're still thinking about. And it can be very literal, it could be something concrete, or if you want to go a little bit more metaphorical, again, totally fine, especially if you're picking imagery. And so we're just going to go ahead and give you about a minute to do that. So go for it. And I'm seeing things come in. And actually, Danielle, if you can reshare the screen so we can see it all together as a group. I mean, I know if you're in it, you're probably all seeing it, but in case somebody couldn't get into it, that we can just see as people are populating. And if you continue to refresh periodically, I think we're going to give everybody about 15 more seconds to enter in your reflection, and then we will finish up for the day. Oh my gosh, such amazing pictures. So importance of the consensus-based decision-making. I see a very happy little girl. I see somebody who's going to do this because they can, which is amazing for youth empowerment. Charity. And if we had a little bit more time together, I might even ask everyone to share a little bit further about what they chose and why, and especially on images that are that don't have any sort of text attached to it, that we can unpack that a little bit further. But in the interest of time, I'm just going to let you all enjoy the beautiful collage on the screen. And I so appreciate everybody being here with us today. And to close us out and wrap things up, I'm going to hand things back over to Danielle, who will just share our final thoughts.
It would help if I unmuted myself. Thank you so much, everyone. We are Honeycomb. We recently rebranded, so we have a brand new website. Please check us out, www.honeycomb.org. And on our website, you will find all sorts of wonderful things, but we also have some great resources. We actually have a card deck. I have a little demo here. This is great. It links with the curriculum. So we've got justice issues and we've got values over here too. It's got little instruction cards about how you can use them to play games and activities, and also to link with the curriculum. We also have recordings of previous webinars that we've run on our website, which is also very useful. So please check us out. Also, if you are interested in starting a program and you want to know a little bit more, schedule a consultation with Alana. Her email is on the screen right now, alana@honeycomb.org. And we would be so excited to hear from you. So again, everyone, thank you so much for joining today. And we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.